So, hi again, nice to meet you. I'm Ruxandra Bolzan from Romania, and today we are speaking about the therapeutical homework. Before starting what I intend to share with you, I'd like to know, what do you expect from this time together after you read the few things that I wrote about the webinar? What are your expectations for this time?
Personally, I would like to take some suggestions to do to prescribe homework.
Okay, thank you.
I'm also curious how you do it yourself, because I do sometimes give homework also to people. But it's really a kind of in the moment intuitive thing that depends on the session and the person. So I'm curious to know how you do it and what kind of thoughts you have about that.
Okay.
I'm also curious about your experience and the results you had during these years with the clients.
Thank you.
Me too. I'm curious. I usually don't like homework a lot, but I'm curious what you do and maybe what I don't do and I should do.
So did you ever give homework to your clients, Rob?
Oh, yes.
Oh, so you don't like homework, but
exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. One thing is to get more about practical experience from other countries, because I'm still a student, so a student member, so it's nice to hear about other practice. But this homework task interested me, especially because I'm working every day now as a leadership trainer and leadership mentor, and I implement quite many elements from our therapy world to my mentoring sessions as well, and I give home work there, and also in leadership training, because I do work with groups what are I do some session with them, then 3 months later I do next one, and there's really often comes up really deep issues, not only about leadership but like human being and how to get well along with yourself. So probably there is quite many homework what I can implement already now in my everyday work without doing therapy outside of school yet.
Yeah, for sure. For sure you can do that. Okay, so the good news is that my plan is covering what you said, so I'm like, that's good. We can go on now. My intention is to stay together around 2.5 hours, and during this time we'll have 1 or 2 breaks. Let's see how it goes, in order for us to be able to stay fully focused on what we are speaking about. So allow me to share with you my beautiful, colorful presentation. And before starting with the actual homework, I want to talk about what are called the ego states, and the importance of the ego states on what we are speaking about now is that, from my perspective, it's very, very important what are the roles in which we and the clients are when we do give homework, especially because, as Rob said, people don't like homework. Like, generally speaking, people associate the homework with teachers, with authority, with something they have to do and they don't like to. And because all of that, it's so very important how we position ourselves related to the clients. That's why, first of all, I want to speak about very briefly about what are called the ego states. And ego states are let's say, a sort of costumes, a sort of roles that we play in different relationships. And Eric Berne is the one that wrote about these ego states. And basically in every relationship, in every moments, we as a human beings are in one of these ego states. The first ego state, it's called the critical parent. What is a critical parent? A critical parent is someone that is always unhappy with what's going on, is pretending from the other one to do certain things, is forcing somehow the other one to do some things. The critical parent has the belief that he knows better. And it's not about being an actual parent, it's just behaving in a relationship as a critical parent. And I can be a critical parent with my son, but also I can be a critical parent with my husband, or with my wife, or with the people I work with, or with my therapist, or with my client. Okay, the critical parent, it's the one that it's really very pushing on the other one. It's trying to make the other one to behave. Then we have the permissive parent. What does it mean, the permissive parent? And it's very easy to think about your parents in childhood, or your friends' parents. The permissive parent is the one that doesn't allow the other person in the relationship to do much, because the permissive parent will choose to do everything for the other one. Like, I'm doing this for you, no need to worry. Yeah, it's fine. Just relax. I'm doing that. It's better you not to do. I can take care of that. And even on a first level, it might look nice, interesting to be in a relationship where you have a permissive parent with you. The truth is that this ego states has a huge impact on the other one, because these permissive parents makes the other one to feel less potent, let's say, and helps the other one to be dependent for the permissive parent. Then we have the adapted child. What means the adapted child? The adapted child is that ego states where the person just obey. Often the adapted child comes in a relationship with a critical parent, and the adapted child is the one that will do whatever the other one is telling him to do. And I'm sure you have a lot of clients that are behaving as adapted children in relationship with their spouse or their boss or maybe family. Can you remember anyone that is behaving like an adapted child? Basically, he will say yes to everything. The adapted child will not be able to hold his boundaries and to communicate his boundaries to the others. Another ego state that we see quite often is the rebellious child. The rebellious child is quite the opposite of the adapted child. The rebellious child is the one that is doing only and only what he wants to do. And again, if you're thinking at your friends or at your clients, I'm sure you can spot some rebellious children between them. People that in a relationship, if the boss is telling him to do something, he will do everything else. Or if the spouse is asking him or her something, they will do everything else. They usually don't care about the other people's boundaries. They need to affirm themselves, and they are choosing to do this not in a very healthy way, let's say. And then we have the free child. The free child is characterized by freedom, creativity, and joy. This is a healthy role of a child. And then we have the adult. What means to be in the adult ego states? The adult ego states means that the person is very aware by himself, but he's able and willing to respect others' boundaries. He's able and willing to do what he needs to do, but not more. He will do only what is needed from his side, not entering in the other person field. And the psychologist says that the healthiest and the ideal, if you want, is that a person would spend 80% of his time in all the relationships being in the adult ego state, and the other 20% in the free child ego state, having being mature, being assertive, being empathic, and still having the joy and the creativity. The sad part is that a lot of people are spending most, if not all, of their times in the relationships being in a sort of adult ego state, one of the two, or being a rebellious child or an adapted child. What's really very interesting in this ego state is that they are a sort of a dance. And in a relationship, it's needed for two to play a dance, and these roles will come complemented one with another, meaning that if in a relationship one will decide, of course it's not a conscious decision, but it's if one is positioning himself in the ego states of the critical parent, in order for him to continue the relationship from that ego state, the other one will have to be in a child ego state, either in an adapted child ego state that will say, yes, mommy, yes, I'm doing that, yes, or in a rebellious child ego state. The same with the permissive parent, meaning that in a relationship, in order to have one that it's in a sort of parent ego state, it's needed for the other one to allow himself to be in a child ego state, but in a child meaning an adapted or a rebellious child. Otherwise, this dance doesn't work. Why are we talking about that? Because very often when the clients are coming to us, they are seeing us, first of all, as an authority, and they will basically reply in the relationship with us the same roles and, of course, quite the same ego states that they are playing in the other relationships in their lives, right? So my role as a therapist is to be sure that I will be all the time in a relationship with my client in an adult ego state. Because if I'm positioning myself in an adult ego state, the other one, being my client, my child, my spouse, my boss, my neighbor, will have two options. Either will force himself to meet me in an adult ego state, because the only ego states that matches the adult ego states, the adult ego state, it's the adult ego state. Do you understand? I need a child and a parent, but for an adult, the only role that can meet an adult, it's another adult. And by being sure that I'm positioning myself in an adult ego state, I'm, let's say, forcing, let's say, the client to meet me as an adult, because it's the only space from which I can help him doing something different in his life. The same way in which a client will try to replay with me the same games that he's playing in other relationships, the way he's training to be with his therapist will help him to change the other relationships. So I'm doing my best to stay in the adult ego state in order to ask him to come and meet me from there. And I decided to start this workshop with this subject because, especially if we are speaking about homeworks, it's very important, and you'll see why, that the relationship, it's one from an adult to another adult. I cannot, if I'm giving the homeworks being a parent, and he will relate to me as a child, this thing will not work. In fact, I believe that therapy doesn't work very well if I'm not very aware to be in an adult ego state all the time, but it's even more important if we are bringing a very sensitive subject as homework, because we all know as children how many things were related to homeworks. We didn't like that, so especially because this idea is triggering even more the wounded child in the client. It's so very important for me to be an adult ego state, and this way asking him to meet me from an adult ego state also. Is this clear? Do you have any questions about this?
I am very curious about examples, but they will come later, I guess.
Yeah, we'll speak later about this thing. In fact, I can give you some brief examples, as I said, often, because most of the clients are coming to us seeing us as an authority, the tendency for most of the clients is to put themselves in a child ego state. And I'm sure that you've seen clients that are coming in therapy and they are searching for approval. Is this right? How shall I do? Did you ever had clients that after you've done the regression with, when they woke up, they asked you if it was good, if they did good? This is a classical adapted child. It's a child that wants to do good for you, and that's a good moment when we need to reestablish the roles and the ego states in which we are. Or I'm sure you also saw clients that came to you in a rebellious child ego state, and they done everything else except what you do. People are calling this in therapy resistance, but it's even more than resistance, because you can see that that person, even if he came to you, he asked for help, he's paying you, he's spending time and money, is sort of trying to make a statement by how different is him, how he's doing the things completely different that you're saying. Did you have this kind of clients? Can you remember? Yeah. it's less frequently, but we can see also clients that are coming and they are trying to relate to us from a parent ego state. And I remember a client that came to me, and we were speaking in the beginning, what is hypnosis, how is going the regression, so on. And at some point, she said to me, she has done before 1 or 2 regressions or something like that. And at some point, she started telling me, but don't worry, I'm here, I will help you, as if she was the one that was supposed to mothering me, that she was supposed to take care of me. Why? Because this woman was very, very used to go in a permissive parent ego state, and she was playing the same role, or at least she was trying to play in the same role in the relationship with me. Also, I'm sure you saw from time to time clients that are positioning themselves in a quite a critical, or they are trying at least to position themselves in quite a critical way. And they are sort of trying to tell you what to do. And I do remember another client that came to me, and again, this one has done, I don't know, maybe 2-3 regressions, and he sat up and he started, you should start with the hypnosis, and I do prefer to do guided imagery hypnosis, and then I want you to take me on the stairs, but not downstairs, upstairs, and then I prefer to have a door. Basically, she was like, shh, 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 I'm telling you what to do, and you're supposed to obey me. Okay? Till the moment where I positioned myself as an adult, and I said, okay, we are in here in this process, and I can do better my job if you allow me to do my job. And I'm imagining that you're here because you want my help and you trust I know enough in order to help you. She needed that, like a cold shower, in order to readjust, you know. And I'm sure all of you have seen all these kind of clients. Of course, from time to time, we have the pleasure to see also clients that are in an adult ego state, where they are very centered, very, very aware of their needs. They are able to express their needs, but without giving specific orders, and without even trying to control you, or trying to obey you, or trying to provoke you, but in a very healthy way. Do you all have this different examples of the clients, of this kind of clients in your mind? Okay. Yeah, Luis? Can you find in your mind?
I'm just starting this therapeutic hypnosis. You were not on the beginning. I'm not doing it professionally yet. Only friends, only some friends.
You can look at your friends in a social relationships, you know, even if you're looking to a social gathering, you will see all these ego states.
Yes,
and you will see all these games playing, you know, because people are doing in the therapy room the exact thing that they are doing in their relationships. It's nothing special, nothing, absolutely nothing different.
Yes, and I made an hypnosis session with this the adaptive child. In the end, she said, "Was it good? Did I do everything?
Did I do good?
Yes.
Did I do well? Was it okay? What do you think about that?" Yeah, that's when it's what's really important is to position yourself in the adult ego states with assertivity, with empathy, but still honoring the other's boundaries, and recalling him to be responsible for himself. That's really very important. Okay, going further, the importance of therapeutic homework. There are a lot of studies done on the importance of therapeutic homework. I've put here only a very, very few of them. First of all, the clinical studies have shown that the completion, and more than that, the accuracy of homework predict the favorable outcome of the therapeutic process, meaning that if a client is doing his homework the way you ask him to do it, it's much more likely that the result of the therapy would be better than if he's not doing the homeworks, or he's just pretending to do the homeworks. We all know how is that. And then this is something that really, really struck me. It was made a review of 23 studies, of course, related to therapeutic homework. And this review that was made in 2010 concluded that psychotherapy accompanied by therapeutic homework, it's much more effective than only therapy by itself. Meaning that in this workshop, we are assuming that all of us, we are doing our job as best as we can. And on top of that, what we can do in order to help our client seems that is to use some homework, because the combination between therapy and homework will lead to better results than therapy by itself. And it's quite normal, because you'll see the homework basically gives continuity. I'm having a session now, and then after a while, I'll have a second session with the client. How do I do as a therapist to keep the continuity in between the two sessions? And this is, I believe, the most important thing, that the homework gives continuity to the process. How often do you do the sessions with the client? Like how much time do you leave in between the sessions, Rob?
Well, 2 weeks, but a lot of clients don't come too much, so there's not too much. I think what you're saying is more applicable to psychotherapy than regression therapy.
I'm not doing psychotherapy like normal psychotherapy. I'm doing only regression therapy. And as you, the same as you, the time in between two sessions, my favorite time is 2 weeks. It's true that it's a sort of a very short therapy, but even so, I'm working with most of my clients, something like in between 3 to 5 sessions. So the homeworks I'm saying are just in between these things, because if I'm having like 3 sessions, basically I will see my clients now after 2 weeks and again after 2 weeks. And the homework will help me just in between these sessions. I don't need to have like a million session, I don't need to have a 100 session in order to use the homework. It's enough, even if I'm having like 2 sessions, I will choose a homework after the first session for the second. Of course, if a client comes and the issue is resolved after 1 session, I'm so very happy. We're done. God bless. But most likely is that client will come again to you when the next issue will arise. It's even smart to do that. But if you're working with a client 2, 3, 5 sessions, you can use this tool, the homework, to give in even more efficiency to the process, because you will keep the client involved into this. These are the most common therapeutic homework, and we'll speak a bit later, a bit more about them. But these are the most common that you will see. First is journaling. What journaling means is that I'm asking my client to write daily in a journal on a theme. Of course, that the theme will be completely related to the objective of the session, you know. Meaning, if the client is working on his sadness, I can ask him to journal every single evening how he felt the sadness. Or if he's working on his professional life, or on his romantic life, maybe I'm asking him to journal about that specific topic that we are working also in therapy. Then I can give my client some breathing exercises, you know. Why? Because very often people are getting in their emotions, and a very useful way to stop the avalanche of emotions when nothing else works could be to do some breathing exercises. Because that, when I'm doing my breathing exercises, the only way how I can do it is to bring all my awareness on the breathing. That's right. And when I'm bringing all my awareness into breathing, like let's say I'm inhaling for 4 seconds, keep the air for 4 seconds, exhaling for 4 seconds. That needs all my attention on the breathing, and putting all my attention on the breathing will bring me in the present moment. When I'm coming in the present moment, my amygdala will be able to calm down and to relax all that. Then one of my favorite homework, it's the reading. It may happen that I'm asking a client to read maybe a chapter from a certain book in between the sessions, or if I know that the client has enough time, I might even ask him to read a whole book on a certain subject, related, of course, we'll see with the therapy. Then I can ask him to repeat some affirmations. No, you will decide how many times a day, how many times per practice he needs to repeat a certain affirmation. Then another homework that I'm using a lot, it's practicing an anchor. You know, in hypnosis, we are establishing some anchors for different subjects. Let's say that I have a client that is working on self-esteem issues. I can install a certain anchor in hypnosis in order for him to connect with the confidence feeling. And I can ask him in between the sessions to repeat the anchor and to connect with that confidence feeling in between the sessions. And for sure, this will boost quite a lot the effect of the session. Then guided meditation, you know, I can ask, I can give the client a recording for the with the meditation, and I can ask the client to do that guided meditation. Then I can ask him to do different tools from self-hypnosis. Of course, I will teach him how to do and then ask him to do. I will not tell him just go and find out what self-hypnosis is and just do some self-hypnosis. And then another very interesting homework is being aware, and even more than that, writing about the measurable symptom, basically monitoring the measurable symptom. Do you know what the measurable symptom is? Anna, Rob, is that familiar? Yadrin? Yadrin, do you work with measurable symptom? Okay, so I will explain briefly. The way how I'm teaching past life regression is that before starting to work with clients, with a certain client, I need a certain sign. Of course, it's a subjective sign about the place where I'm starting with the client, because the therapy is a destination, and the fact that we know where the client wants to reach, it might not be enough, because it's such a difference. The destination is a destination, but what is the place from which he's living towards that destination? So we are taking before every session what is called the measurable symptom. The measurable symptom is basically the problem that the client came with in therapy. And the measurable symptom could be an emotion, like the client could come with sadness, with fear, with angriness, whatever. Then it can be a physical sensation, a pain wherever in the body, a blockage wherever in the body, or something similar. Or it can be a repetitive thought. I'm sure you had clients that came to you with different repetitive thoughts, like I don't deserve, I deserve the worst, money are bad. Did you have this kind of clients with these repetitive thoughts? Okay, so basically I'm choosing in the interview with the client what's the symptom we are working on, and this is what we will measure towards the whole therapy. And let's say if the client comes to us saying that he wants to work on sadness, I will measure this symptom, the sadness, and I will measure the symptoms on 3 levels. Intensity, and I will ask a client, okay, this sadness, on a scale from 1 to 10, how sad you feel most of the time? Of course, it's approximate, because sometimes might be 5 and sometimes might be 7, but the client will say approximate would be 6, and then I will measure how often that symptom appears in the life of my client. And I will ask, how often are you aware of this sadness? And my client might say once a week, or every day, or every second day, And then the third thing that I will ask the client to think and tell me, of course, again, approximately, how long are the episodes when he's connected with the symptom. Like, let's say the client is feeling a sadness that is 6 from 10 every single day. And I'm asking, okay, how long do you feel? Of course, no one ever watched the watch, you know, like I started to feel sad now. But anyhow, the client can approximate if it's about 10 minutes or it's about 8 hours. The client will know if you ask. And the client will say, I don't know, 2 hours. And basically, this is the measurable symptom that I'm working with during the whole therapy. The client came to me with sadness, 6 to 10, 6 from 10, every day, 2 hours a day. So basically, this is the born that shows me where are we before the therapy. And then because we are taking this before each session, we know how we go towards the destination. Okay. Was I clear enough with the measurable symptom? Was not in my plan, but yes,
I have
Rob.
a question. Do you use a standardized question set for that? Do you have a tool?
No, just go with the client. Just go with the client. So basically, this is the way I'm working. This is the way I'm working with each client. And I believe that it's very, very important to work with measurable symptom, because it's a very good way for you and the client to know how the therapy works and when it's done. It's not done because I said it's done. You don't have to come and see me 100 times because I'm saying you need to come to see me 100 times. If your sadness is gone after one session, I'm happy. But if after one session, your sadness, it's not 6, it's 4. It's not every day, it's twice a week. And it's not 2 hours, it's 1 hour and a half. Okay, we know we still have work to do, but we know this therapy that we are doing is able to help the client. So coming back to the homework, what you can do is to ask the client to monitor during the sessions the symptom. And I can ask him, you know, we are working on sadness. I want you to monitor the sadness. How is the sadness going every day? Because this helps him to be aware what's going on in his reality. I will speak later how we choose homeworks for clients. So I will reach there. Just be patient. So in order to give a homework, we have some very specific steps. First of all, I need to create a meaningful work, a meaningful homework, meaning that the homework that I'm choosing for the client. So let's see. First, I need to create a meaningful homework. Then I need to set the homework and do me, the therapist, everything I can in order for the client to be able to do it. And the step 3 is to review the homework. So I'll take the steps one by one. In creating a meaningful homework, it's very fundamental that the homework is correlated to the therapeutical objective and of course with the measurable symptom. You know, if I'm working with a client on his sadness, the homework that I'm choosing should be meaningful in order to address the sadness. I will not choose a homework that it's addressing the anger, or I will not choose a homework that it's addressing thought. I will choose a homework that it's correlated with our objective. Otherwise, the client will not do it. Then it's so very important that the homework to be acceptable for the client. And this is why it's so very important for both of us to be in an adult state. It's not as if I'm telling him to do something and he's saying, yes, mommy. I need for his consent. He needs to accept to do the homework. Otherwise, will be no use. Then the homework needs to be adapted to the social cultural context, meaning that if I know that I have a client that it's a mother of 4 with a full-time job, it would be mad to ask that woman to do a meditation, a 2-hour meditation every single day. Of course, she will not able to do it. Or let's see, in the past 2 years, I couldn't ask someone that was having a sort of fear to meet people to go and dance in a club. I wouldn't do that anyhow, but you know, you couldn't ask people to go and meet a friend in a coffee shop. What coffee shop? The coffee shops weren't somewhere where you can go, you know. So every time when I'm choosing a homework, the homework needs to be adapted to the social cultural context of the client. Then the best topics in the homework are the ones that are coming out of the session. In my practice, I'm sometimes involving in the process some spirit guides, and I've seen that if a spirit guide would give a client a certain message, let's say the spirit guide would say to the client, "You are light and you spread love," it will be really easy for me and for the client if I'm taking that particular affirmation that came out from the session and give a homework about that affirmation. You know, it's very different than if I'm just having the session and in the end I'm saying the client, now I want you to take this affirmation, you are love and you are light and you are spreading the love. The message is the same, but it's so different if it came from the session and the therapist just took it and convert it in a useful homework than to invent it by myself. Is this clear why? Yeah. Then another thing, the step 2 is to set the homework and then do everything I can so the client could do the homework. No? What does it mean? It means that I need to inform the client in a smart way, of course, being an adult and asking him to be an adult, that he's allowed to reject the homework. Okay, he can accept it or not. I will not say you have to do this homework. I will invite him to do something in between the sessions. And I will ask him, are you okay with that? Are you willing to do that? Because it's like, it's my invitation, but he's the one that will need to do it, not me. Okay. Then I really, really need to explain him how this homework helps him and why it's important to do it, why I believe it's important to do the homework, because otherwise the client will not do it. I can't ask him, just do this. Why? Just because I'm saying so. It's not very mature, you know? The client needs to understand why. Why are you asking me to do this meditation in between the sessions? Why are you asking me to do this activity in between the sessions? Why are you asking me to read this material in between the sessions? Why are you asking me to journal about something in between the sessions? And I will have to explain him what's his benefit. Why do I believe that it's important for him to invest time and energy in that activity? Because if he understands, the motivation will rise, and the chance that he will do his own homework is it's higher. Of course, I was saying that I observed that from some point that after I my fees raised from a certain point, the motivation of the client started to raise to do the homework, you know, because they said probably they thought, I can come to 5 sessions or to 3, let's do the homework. Okay. Then I need to bring clarity. The topic, the homework needs to be very concrete, very clear, with very, very clear instructions. If I'm asking the client to do something, it's my duty to explain him in details what I'm inviting him to do, and just give complete instructions on that. Then when I'm working with a client, I will always start with a small homework, okay? I will not ask the client to do in the next 2 weeks, a 2 hours meditation twice a day, okay? Or even once a day, because if it's something that involves a lot of energy, of course, he will not do it. So maybe in the beginning, I will ask him to do like 2 times 5 minutes meditation, okay? Just start with something small. Then what's really important is to establish together what's the method of monitoring the homework. How you will monitoring what he needs to do. Let's say you're asking the client to repeat the anchor. And I'm asking the client to repeat an anchor twice a day in the next 2 weeks. Will he write somewhere about that, or he will just do it? If I'm asking him to monitor it in the writing, will he monitor it for himself, or he will text me? And the anchor is an example, because there are other homeworks where I can ask people to do other activities. Like I might ask a client to go have a coffee once a week with a friend, you know? Will that mean that he will write somewhere that he was doing that? Will he text me, or will he tell me to the next session? If he wants to text me, what's the best way in which he can let me know? And this is about my boundaries, because is it okay for the client to text me on WhatsApp? Probably not a very good idea. I'm imagining you had clients texting you on WhatsApp, seeing your face. At least one tried it again at once. Is it true? So it's about my boundaries, letting the client know, okay, if you need to write me, for me, the most comfortable way for them to communicate with me is the email, as That's there. I'm reading it when I'm reading it. I'm answering when I'm answering. Then it's very important to anticipate the obstacles that could come along the way and address them. Like maybe you want to talk with a client when is the best time of the day to do what you ask him to do, or if it's something that he needs to do only once during the session, when is the best day to do that. But just try to anticipate the obstacles that he could face in doing the homework and address that obstacles in order to help him to do the homework. And then it's step 3. Step 3, it's about reviewing the homework. And this is just one moment. This is one of the biggest mistakes that people are doing, and I've seen therapists and psychotherapists doing that. They are giving homework and then they forgot to they forgot to review the homework, you know. And what's happening is that the client will not do the next homework. If you asked me to do something and you didn't ask about that, I will not do the next one because I'm not getting why. If the client did the homework in the reviewing, it's very important to discuss the homework. How was it? How the client felt? What were the possible changes? And what's really, really very important is in this review of the homework is to focus on how the homework accomplished its goal. Do you remember that in step 2, I said when you're giving the homework, explain the client how do you expect that this homework will help him in this therapeutical process. And then when you're reviewing the homework, the focus is on how much the homework accomplished that. Help the client the way you thought it will help the client. And you know, all this reviewing, it doesn't have to be very long. Very often 5 minutes are even too much to do that, you know, because I'm interested, how was it, if he did the homework, if he didn't do the homework. And we'll speak immediately about the clients that don't do the homework. And I want to focus that 2-3 minutes on how much the homework and in which way accomplish its goal. And what's really important in order to remind you to review the homework is to make sure that at the end of the session, when you're giving the client the homework, you're writing on the notes that you're having for that specific client that you gave a homework, and what was the homework, what were the instructions, what was the goal of the session of the homework. Because this way, the next time when the client comes and I'm taking my notes from the last session, I'm just reviewing a bit the notes, and then I'm seeing that at the end of the session, I ask him to do a homework. Then I know when the client comes in, I need to ask him about the homework, you know? Okay. I will not take questions yet because I have so many other things to say. But I promise, if you have any question, it would be really useful for you to write it down. And if my talk will not answer to your question, I promise I will take all the questions in the end and will answer to all of them. I can promise that on this group. If we were like 30, I could have done that. Okay, Deal? Good. So I would propose a break. What do you say? Yes, Anna? 10 minutes break? 10 minutes break. 6 and 5 minutes, 6:15? Yes? See you. Liz, Rob, and Anna.
I'm here, but I'm
Okay.
I'm still eating, so.
Okay. You can eat with the camera, we don't mind. It's fine. Usually I'm saying in my workshops to people, if they need to eat, to drink, it's fine. Rob, are you around? Yeah, Rob is here also, so we can go further. So we talked about what we are doing with the client that is doing his homework, like we discussed about it and the way the homework did accomplished its goal. But what do we do with the clients that do not do their homework? Because they are quite few people that do not do their homework. With this kind of people, it's so very important to remain in the adult ego states and not go into the trap of being the critical parent, because our role is not to be their critical parents and correct them, but our role is to understand what's going on with them and to help them accomplish the goal with which they come into the therapy. So basically, with a client that doesn't do his homework, first of all, I need to be curious. What happened with the client? Why didn't he do his homework? Don't be judgmental. Just ask him, be curious. What happened to him? Then it's very important to be encouraging with the client. It's fine if he didn't do the homework. He can do it next time, or everything is all right, and I will keep my adult state. Then I need to be very careful in order not to not to give him the feeling that he failed me, like I had certain expectations that he didn't feel. I need to be very, very careful on that. And then I can consider giving the same homework after a very good analysis. Again, after another session, if I still believe it's a good idea and that homework could help him towards our process. The most frequent motivations coming from the client for not doing their homework are this. There are clients that are saying that they forgot to do the homework. Often the state that arises in these moments are the rebellious child. Maybe unconsciously, the client wants to make a point. I'm asking him to do something and he's forgetting about this. I can ask him how he forgot it. He forgot it in the moment when he left my office, or maybe he remembered about the homework a few times and decided not to do it at that moment because it wasn't appropriate for him. What made him forget that he had to do something? And then I need to help him find ways in which next time on a future homework, he will not forget. What does he need in order to remember that he needs to do a homework? And at this point, I need to be very careful not to go in the permissive parent ego state, you know. You will see clients that will say, I need you to remind me. And this is a subtle invitation for me to become his permissive parent. It's not my role to start texting my client in between the sessions in order for him to do what he's supposed to do. Rather, I will encourage the client to write down the homework, to put the homework on his calendar, to put a reminder on his phone, something that he's doing independently. He's doing himself, I'm not doing something for him in order to take this from him. Then there are clients that say that they didn't do the homework because they didn't think that the homework could help them. And that means that me as a therapist, I didn't explain good enough why I'm proposing that homework, why I'm inviting him, what's his benefit in order for that homework to be done. So next time when I'm giving a homework, I will make sure, first of all, that I'm explaining very well the benefit for the homework. And then I will make sure that I will ask questions to my client in order to be sure that the client understood why I'm asking him to do what I'm asking him to do. Then there will be clients that will say they didn't know what to do. Basically, they are saying they didn't understand the instructions. And again, this might be something that it's on me, that I didn't communicate well the instructions. As well, that it can be that the client didn't understand my instructions and still didn't ask for more clarifications. I'm usually recording my sessions with the client, and often I will let my recording going on when I'm explaining the homework. In this way, after the session, because my clients know that I will send them the recording, I can tell them, you know what, at the end of the recording, you will find again the instructions for the homework, you know, because maybe they didn't understand, maybe they didn't remember. Another thing that I can do because you remember that on the second step was my responsibility to do my best in order to help the client do the homework. So another thing could be that in the email after the session, when I'm sending the recording, to put, I don't know, 2 phrases about the homework and to write again what I'm asking him to do and what are the instructions for what he's supposed to do. This way will make it easier for the client to remember the instructions, and he will not have this thing that he will not know what I asked him to do. Then it will be clients that will feel that it was too difficult for them to do what I asked him to do. And again, I need to evaluate if it was something difficult that I asked them to do, or if again they didn't understand, they had the impression that is difficult. You'll see later on when we will speak about specific homeworks that the homework in itself, it's I will not choose a difficult homework, but it might be that the client's perception is that the homework was difficult. It's interesting to see if the client at the second session is telling me that he didn't do the homework because it was too difficult. What made him not to express that when we are speaking about the homework? What stopped him telling me when I said, I'm inviting you to do this and this and this, to tell me at that point, you know what, it's really hard what they're asking me to do. Maybe they've got in the adapted child ego state, and they tried to do it my way, and they tried to behave. And when it was the moment when they were supposed to do it, they felt, oh my God, this is difficult. And then another frequent motivation for not doing the homework is when the client is saying that they didn't have time. Now, I need to evaluate again if it was indeed a time issue or not. Most of the times, it's not about time itself, because you'll see that most of the homeworks are taking very little time, but they are exceptions. It's true that all of us have 24 hours, and it's a matter of priorities. I'm doing in my 24 hours what I feel it's a priority for me to do in the exact 24 hours. And I will let apart things that I do not consider important or a priority for me. So I need to see if this is the case, or sometimes it's just a matter of time. And I do remember a specific client of mine. I worked with her for a few sessions, and she was working very well. She was doing her homework. She was doing well in the sessions, and at some point after a session, she came and said, "I didn't have time." And in the beginning, I didn't understand, because this woman was doing her homework every single time. But when I listened to her, I found out that in between our sessions, it happened that a few people from her family come and visited, and basically her house got completely crowded for almost 2 weeks. And it was indeed an issue with finding 15 quiet minutes in the house. So even if most of the time it's not about the time, it's about the priority, still we need the flexibility and the curiosity to find out what was really going on in a client lives. Again, no judgment, just curious, just what I want to find out, why I want to find out, in order to help him the next time. Because next time when I'm giving a homework, if the client didn't do the previous homework and he came with a certain motivation, I might be able to help him overcome this motivation that stopped him do whatever I asked him to do as homework. Is this clear with the motivations that people are coming with? Did you see your clients doing this kind of things? What was the most, I don't know, often motivation they come with? Rob, you said you're giving homework.
Yeah, but not too much. Usually it's about priorities.
And they are saying about time.
Also, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anna, do you give homework?
Me?
Yes.
Yes. But usually I talk with them before every session. I send a long email before we meet, and I'm very serious with that. And I usually I tell them that I'm serious, and the next time when we will meet, we will talk about the homework they did. So they expect me to talk about.
Is that a bit of critical adult?
Well, my time is limited, so I don't want to. Sure. Yeah. I don't want to spend my time for.
Otherwise, they will get a 4. Yeah. And when they don't do the homework, what do they say?
I don't think I have more than 1 from 10 clients that they don't do the homework.
They are too afraid.
Yes. Yeah. No, because these are the rules, and we are a team. We work like this. I don't do the work for them. I only guide them, and so.
So you didn't have people that dared not to do the homework. Okay, got it. Anna, the other Anna.
Well, I don't see so many clients at the moment. So, and whenever I did, there were people that didn't come back. So it was a
Okay. So you're seeing clients just one session.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah.
Okay. Yadrin, you came a bit later. Do you give your clients homework? Yadmin, sorry.
Unmute myself.
Yes.
I'm sorry, this is my phone. I couldn't get it on the computer. I'm sorry, but my name is Monique. My name is Monique.
Oh, okay. So that's why you don't answer.
Yeah. Well, Ladmin, but it's me. Okay. I'm only starting the practice now, the therapy, and but I did gave homework, and I think when you explain that it's benefits their own process, I think they have to take responsibility for that. I mean, that's why they come to you to work on themselves. So if they can't do it, of course, it's good that to give attention to it. And but yeah, if they don't.
What was the motivation for those that they didn't do the homework?
I think that maybe I didn't explain it too much, too good, because it's in the session. Then it comes to you, and it ends with a lot of like these anchors, and it's a lot. I think it's a lot what they get to process. So yeah, I think it's good to that they write it down or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Because I don't send the recordings. I don't do that. But yeah, it's good when they go and they get a kind of reminder, but they have to write it themselves. I think. Yes.
I prefer for me to write them the homework instructions, for the very simple reason, as you said, after the session, it's so much to take in. And for some of them, the process, it was so deep that I believe it's hard for them to really focus.
Yes.
What I'm saying. So that's why I prefer for them just to listen to me, to take whatever they are able to take. And even if I'm not sending the recording for the homework, I will send an email. Anyhow, you have to send an email with the next appointment or something, or asking how they are. And that in that email, you can you can write down a few instructions, because they weren't fully present and very cerebral when you were speaking about the homework. And it's normal, all of us know how it is to be a client in these sessions, and we all know that sometimes after a session, you are so need to just come back in, and you discovered so many things, you lived so many emotions, you have so much to process. So it's quite understandable if they are able to remember.
Yes.
And I would rather let them be in that space than asking them to take a pen and paper.
Yeah,
And
that's
yeah, I can do that. You know,
good.
this is quite easy. It's not hard to do that.
Yeah.
I know by heart my homework, so. Okay, so now I want to speak about specific categories of therapeutic homework depending on their purpose. Because I said the homework needs to be tailored on the process, and depending on what's the purpose that I want to reach towards a certain homework, I will choose a homework. Now, this therapeutic homework idea was first introduced in psychotherapy by the cognitive behavior therapy. Did you hear about that? You know, they are very focused on cognitions and on behavior. I'm not the biggest fan of CBT, but I can see they have amazing tools that we can take and adapt. In CBT, there are a lot of options for the homework. What I will speak about now are specific the homework that I use during the years with my regression clients, are homework that I believe that fit very well in our kind of therapy. I didn't introduce here homework that I don't believe would be appropriate for what we are doing, for our processes, for the way we are seeing the therapy. Okay, so they are specific for regression therapy. I believe I discovered this tool, the therapeutic homework, at least 6-7 years ago, and I was excited about it, and I introduced it in my practice, and I'm still a very big fan of it, because I can see how it really accelerate. It can really accelerate the result of the therapy. So, considering the purpose that I want to reach through the homework, I would say that we have something like that. I can have homework that it's meant to train the access to access the state of hypnosis. The way I'm working, I'm doing the regression through hypnosis. And one purpose would be to help the client to reach the hypnosis state, because probably you've seen that there are clients that are reaching easier this state because are more able to give up on control and just following the instructions. And there are people for which it's quite very challenging to allow themselves to go into the hypnosis. It's not that they can't, but it's simply that there are people that need to train a bit in order to access that state. And one of my favorite homework for this is to give the client a guided meditation. I prefer to give the client a guided meditation that I recorded with my voice, because in this way, yes, Rob, in this way, he will get familiarized with my voice, with my tone, with the way I'm leading the hypnosis, And this training will help him that when we'll see each other the next time, he will be able to go deeper than before. Then, if I have a client that is familiarized with self-hypnosis, I can ask him to do some self-hypnosis on itself. I can ask the client maybe to record himself, a trance for himself, you know, and following his own voice. Or what I can do is that in the session, I can put an anchor for the hypnosis trance, and then I can ask the client to use that anchor in order to put himself in the trance. And of course, even if it's the guided meditation or the self-hypnosis or the self-hypnosis with the anchor, most likely is that I will ask the client to do this homework a few times in between the sessions. If it's a guided meditation, I will take care that it's a short one. I will never choose a long one, you know, probably something like 15 minutes, you know. And if the meditation is 15 minutes, maybe I can ask him to repeat that meditation maybe 3 times a week, because it's fine, 15 minutes, you know. Again, the anchor, I will ask him to put himself through the anchor in self-hypnosis, to do it a few times, or if he's doing a recording for himself, to use that recording a few times till our next meeting, in order to train himself to go into that state of hypnosis. Okay? Is this clear so far? Yeah. Do you consider you have clients for which would be useful to train themselves to go in the trance? And do you think that this will help your process for the next session? Because it's much harder if he will train to go into the hypnosis only with me, and much more expensive. This is the major motivation, I believe. Then let's say I have a client that goes into the trance, but has issues in accessing the past lives. Did you ever have a client that went into the hypnosis? You could see him that he was going very well into the hypnosis. And at the point where you were about to access the past life, they completely came back. Or maybe they didn't completely came back, but they came back halfway and they were starting their analytical mind to blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Did you have this kind of clients that they went into the trance, but they had really serious issues to access a past life? No? So for this kind of clients, what I can do as a homework, I can send them, I can give them regression meditation recording. You know, I'm just recording a meditation. Of course, it's a meditation that I'm recording by myself. It's not that I'm giving them a session from another client, you know. It's just I'm recording a meditation. I'm recording the trance. Then I will have questions in order to help them access a past life, you know, with times in which I'm in silent, in order for them to get the answer in their own universe. A variation of this would be to give them a regression meditation recording, but to a resource past life or to a positive past life. And this is my favorite homework for this purpose. And I will explain why. Because when someone has some challenges in accessing a past life, they could be two things. First of all, it can be the fear of accessing a past life memory. But if I'm working on a very strong emotion, on a fear, it could be also the resistance of going into dark, strong emotions, you know? And basically, I have like two kind of challenges that I have to work on. So then it could be a very, very good idea to give a client a recording with a regression, but in a positive lifetime. Because in this way, I will not have anymore that resistance into going into deep, dark, strong emotions. We all like joy, love, blissful. So it's much more likely that the client will let himself go into a past life if he knows he will access a positive lifetime. And in this way, basically, I will help the client to overcome the challenges one by one. Because using a positive lifetime, it can be only the feeling of unknown in accessing a past life. But we are dealing with that. We are helping him, train him to access a positive past life. And then when he's comfortable and when he's able to navigate through a positive past life, then the next time when he comes to me, I can invite him to go to I don't know, a lifetime where is the problem for which he came to me. So basically, I'm splitting his resistance in order to go towards that. Is that clear? Does it make sense for you? Do you have questions for this part? Comments? Observations? No? All right. Then, another homework, in fact, another purpose of homework could be to raise awareness, to help my client to be more aware of what's going on with him. And in this category, there are two types of homework that I will give. A first type, it's called psychoeducation. What means psychoeducation? Psychoeducation is a sort of information, psychological informations about his issues. Let's say I have a client that definitely it's behaving in the relationship with me from an adapted child ego state. A psychoeducation homework could be to ask him to read a material about what that means, about what means that he's relating from a adapted child ego states. And I might recommend him maybe to read, Eric Berne has a very good book on this subject. Or maybe I can ask my client to watch a video. You know, if you reached a video on YouTube on a certain subject that you believe would be really useful for the client and for what's going on in the therapy, you can invite the client to watch a video. You can invite the client to listen a podcast. Of course, it's a specific material that I, as a therapist, know. I read it, I listened it, I watched it. And I consider that it would be in the benefit of the client to know this psychological information, especially because my talking time with a client, it's so very little in the regression therapy. I don't have half an hour for him to, I don't have half an hour to lecture him about the ego states, or I don't have an hour to lecture him about the roles of masculinity, or how, I don't know, how works the male energy into the women and how that affects the relationship. So because my role as a regression therapist is to use as much time as I can into the regression, if it's something that I believe he would benefit from psychological point of view for him to know, I might give him this kind of homework that it's called psychoeducation. And that involves for him to read something or to watch something or to listen something, you know, whatever works for my client, you know. I remember that for a client, I asked her to watch a documentary on Netflix. It was a woman that it's a psychologist, and she was speaking about vulnerability. It's a 1 hour and a half on Netflix, and I asked my client as a homework to watch that, and the client after that had really very strong insights, because that information really helped her to internalize what happened in our session and brought her some insights that really boosted our therapy together. Then another homework for raising awareness is self-monitoring. What means self-monitoring? Means that I might ask him to monitor in writing, you know, monitoring it's only and always in the writing, a certain behavior, or maybe a symptom like an emotion, a sensation, a thought, and just write down. Whatever the client discovers when she is or he is focused on that behavior, emotion, thought, sensation. Now, with the writing, you'll see that in this era of technology, for the most people, it's much more comfortable if they need to write down 2 words about something, to do it on their phones, because we have the phone quite glued on our hand almost all the time. But most of the time, the people do not have pen and paper. So it's fine to write down on the phone. Or they might be people that prefer to record themselves in talking about something than writing. The same goes with the journaling, you know. I might ask the client to journal every single evening about a certain behavior or a certain feeling. Again, it can be done by writing with hand. It can be done on the phone or on the computer, or in the same way, it can be done with a voice. Or the notes are quite the same. Now, with the monitoring and journaling, the problem is, how do I review the homework? Because let's say I had like 2 weeks in between the session, and I asked my client to monitor a certain behavior or to journal upon a certain subject. And basically, in 2 weeks, it will be quite a lot of material, you know? And if it would be for me to start to read or to listen everything what the client wrote down or recorded into sessions, it would take me quite a while. And of course, again, as a regression therapist, I do not have that time. So what I'm doing in this kind of homeworks, I'm asking the client to monitor or to journal, and then I'm asking him that a day or two before he comes to see me again, to read what he wrote or to listen what he recorded, and to write a brief conclusion, summary, what he feels about what happened in that 2 weeks. And it's enough for you to review with the client that brief. You do not need to go towards all the journaling for 2 weeks. It's absolutely no need. Ask the client to read it and to write down a few conclusions, what he feels about that, what's the summary, what's the conclusion, what happened with his monitoring or journaling in the past 2 weeks. Okay? Does it help? Any questions about this homework for raising awareness? Is that clear? Okay. Then I might have homework for scheduling activity. Now in the therapy, I'm working with a client on different subtle things like emotions, programs, beliefs. But meanwhile, I'm doing, let's say, the reprogramming on a very subtle level. It's very useful for the client to also take action, because the action is very necessary. If the client takes action, that will help him overcome faster. We are working on a deep level on thoughts, beliefs, programs. But meanwhile, I'm asking him to do a few steps on this 3D reality and take some actions. And let's say, I do remember a client that came to me because she had very serious issues into the relationships, all the relationships. And I remember that she was working in an office. It was an open space office. And she was afraid even to talk with her colleagues. And one homework that I gave her at some moment was to look around in that office, to find in that office that very first person that she feels is the most friendly and she could feel safer than with anyone else, and to just have a little change of words in one day. This was the homework. Just talk to that person that you feel is the safest in the whole 20-30 people. And it was so important for her to do that, because when she started to do that, after she came to the next session, I said, okay, how was the homework? How was that doing? What was the colleague you chose? How was the chat? And she said, you will not imagine. I chose one colleague that I felt is the safest. We've met in the morning next to the coffee machine. And I was the first one for the very first time that I said hi. The other one, of course, knew that she's not much speaking with the people. So the other one just said hi. And then my client said, how are you today? That's for anyone else, it's basic. It's not a big thing, you know, but for some people, it's huge. So basically, this colleague of hers was quite surprised that she was asked, how are you today? So she started smiling, she replied, she asked her how is she replied back. So basically they chatted for 10-15 minutes. And the conclusion of my client was that she's amazed because she felt that this woman is the safest in the whole office, but this woman is amazing. She was smiling, she was speaking so nicely with her. My client felt so welcome. Then, without being a homework, she done that with another 2 colleagues in the next days. I do remember her that when I first saw her, she said, you know what, we are like 20-30 people in this open space, and there are times in the breaks when they are starting to speak in between them, the colleagues. And when this happened, I'm just putting my hand down, hoping that no one will ask me anything, because I'm too ashamed to say anything. I worked with her a few sessions, but not much. And at some point, I remember that she came to the session and she said, I said, how are you today? Blah, blah, blah. She said, you will not guess. Tell me. Do you know what I've done in the weekend? Of course not. She said, I went out with my colleagues for a beer. I was like, what? You did what? She had this huge anxiety, you know. Of course, we worked on an emotional level. We've done so much work with past lives, with inner child, with womb. We've done so much work. But the fact that she was willing to do some very concrete actions and steps, I'm sure it made a huge difference. You know, that's the kind of what I'm saying, what I mean when I'm saying for scheduling the activity. Just encourage the client to do a specific action. Of course, it needs to be okay for the client, you know. I told you, I asked this woman just to say hi and change a couple of words with a colleague, with the safest colleague, you know, because this was appropriate for her. I couldn't have asked her from, you know what, as a homework, you need to go for a beer with your colleagues. She would have said, I'm crazy, you know. But ask the clients to do specific actions, you know. So, or like in CBT, when they are working with fears, they are inviting in homeworks for the client to expose himself to his fears, you know. Of course, it needs to be in a very safe and smart and wise way, you know. If I have a client that has a fear of heights, I might ask him to, I don't know, to look at the picture or with a skyscraper, you know, but I will never ask him to go into a skyscraper. Or if I have a depressed client, one time I might ask him to make a list with things that used to bring him joy, you know, and ask him to come with that list the next week or the next session. And then after the next session, I can give him as a homework to take one thing of the list and we'll choose together which one. Maybe something like walking in a park for 10 minutes. And to do that activity in between the sessions. We are working on an emotional base, subtle level. And meanwhile, I'm asking them sometimes to actually do what's about. Okay. Do you have any questions about this? Anyone? Good. So let's move further. Just a moment. Then we have homework for managing emotions. Again, we are starting from the point where we are doing the regression, we are doing our best in the regression, and still what can the clients do in between the sessions. And for managing the emotion, a very good homework are the breathing exercise. I was speaking earlier about the breathing exercise, because there are times when people feel overwhelmed with emotions, and they feel overwhelmed with emotions because in that moment of panic, it's like this frontal part of the brain is being blocked, and they are completely immersed in the emotions of the amygdala. So they need to break a bit that pattern. And one tool with which they can break that pattern when that pattern arises again, could be the breathing exercises. Whatever breathing exercises you want, it doesn't have to be a specific one. The simple thing that they are moving their attention from that overwhelming state to the breathing. And in this way, they are becoming present in their bodies, makes the hormones that are blocking the frontal part of the brain to dissipate, and makes the amygdala to relax, and this could make a difference. Then also for managing emotions, I can install an anchor for my client, and his homework could be to use the anchor for calm, for peace, for relaxation for whatever I mean. Or if he knows some self-hypnosis, I can ask him to use some tools for self-hypnosis on himself. Okay. Then I might give my client homework for improving relationships. And I believe this is very, very similar with the homework focused on action, And on this homework for improving the relationships, I have in mind two kinds of relationships. The relationship with self, with himself, and the relationship with others. And when I'm working with a client on the relationship with himself, confidence, self-worth, so on, I can even give him affirmations, and ask him to repeat a certain affirmation. And as I said, if that affirmation somehow came in the session, it's even better. Then I can invite him to do a certain meditation. Maybe it's a recorded guided meditation, maybe it's a short breathing meditation, any kind of meditation, just in order to help him to return to himself. Another homework that I really, really love is to ask my client to buy a gift for themselves. And especially when I'm using on an inner child, when I'm working on an inner child, most likely is that at the end of the session, I will ask the client to go and buy a present for the child within. Whatever they want, maybe a doll, if it's a girl, maybe something else, whatever, but just buy a gift for themselves. And I'm always telling them it's very important not to be something expensive, not to be something, to be something meaningful, just meaningful without being expensive. Then I might ask them, as I said before, to make a list with things that bring them pleasure and do one thing from the list, or to do one of their favorite activities. whatever they want. But all this bring the client back to himself and help him to put the attention on himself and raise the feeling of self-worth, I believe. Then for the relationship with others, I'm asking my clients to work on assertiveness. That means that I either can ask them to read a material about what assertiveness is, or if they already know that, I can ask them that during the next 2 weeks to practice as often as they can assertiveness. The same with active listening. Now, to active listen the people they are talking to. And the same, I can ask them to be aware of their boundaries and to be very clear with others with boundaries. And another homework that I really like, it's called cost benefits introspection. And I can ask a client to take a bit of a time and consider what are the costs and what are the benefits that he has with his issue. Let's say I'm afraid of people. I'm afraid people will judge me. I don't do, I prefer not to speak to the people, you know? Okay, what are the costs that you have this? You know, the cost is that I feel marginalized, I don't have friends, blah, blah. Okay, what are the benefits? And you can ask the client to do an introspection on these specific things. Very often this homework brought so much awareness and clarification for the client that the next time came and said, I know what's going on. Look what I discovered. Okay. Are these clear? Do you have any questions or comment upon what we speak about on this slide? No. Ivar, do you want to say something?
I'm just trying to find the translation for assertiveness. Maybe you can just describe a little bit what's that?
Assertiveness is the capacity to ask in a very loving, positive way what you need from others. Is a person that is assertive will be able to communicate to the others in a very loving way what he needs. Because what usually happens is that people say yes when they do not want to say yes, when they want to say no. And then even if they ask for their boundaries to be respected, they will do that in a quite aggressive way. And when you're assertive, when you have assertiveness, basically you're able to say what you need, but in a very loving and kind way without hard feeling towards others. And you can say to the other, okay, this is my boundary, this is what I want to do, this doesn't work for me, and so on. Okay?
Yes, and thanks.
Welcome.
Yeah, I found finally. Yeah, I understood. Thanks.
I can see Anna translated it for you. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What a complicated word. And I used to say that, I used to think that assertiveness is hard. No, it's not. How do you pronounce that word?
Enese kehtestaminen.
Oh, yes. So how would that be to give a homework on saying that word? That would, that would be mean.
No wonder people aren't assertive if it's such a difficult word.
It's very hard even to say it. Okay, next. Homework for testing assumption. A lot of people, including ourselves, are going through life with a lot of assumptions, you know, about others, about itself, about universe, about world. And you will see, and I'm sure you saw clients that are coming and saying, everyone is hating me. My husband never do anything nice for me. You know, do you know this kind of people? They can be friends, if not clients, but we all have friends and clients like that. I was never lucky in this life, you know, and all these words, always, no one, never, everybody, most likely, if not sure, they are assumptions that aren't true, because it can't be that everyone, every time, always, no one, blah, blah, blah. It can't be true, you know? So one homework that you can give to this kind of client is to monitor the situations and thoughts, but on the opposite direction. Like if the client says, everyone is mean to me, no one is ever helping, or no one is ever doing anything nice for me, I can reflect to the client that this always and no one and nothing might be his perception, and I might invite him or her for the next 2 weeks to observe and to write down the very, very, very small situations when things are not happening like that. And remaining with this example, I might say to the client, just observe when and if something different is happening. And it can be a very, very small thing, like you were driving and a certain driver let you in front of him, or you were in the store and you couldn't reach on the top shelf, and it was someone that came and gave you that object from the shelf. All these very, very, very small little things, you know? And people have often a lot of insights when they observe that if they are writing down all these things in 2 weeks, at the end, when they are reading them, there are quite a few. It's not like it's always or no one. Also, the same introspection of cost benefits works very well here. And I can ask the client to take the time and to do an introspection. What are the costs for this assumption, belief that no one ever do anything good for me? And what are the benefits? Because there are always also benefits, even if we do not admit in the beginning. And then I might give homework for overcoming the resistance and the obstacles in the therapy. And in this could be like psychoeducation, as I said before, like reading something, watching to material, listening to something, or I can ask the client to do something, to plan something, to do something different, or to do the affirmation, a certain affirmation, or the exposure that I was speaking about before, you know, like, but as I said, be very careful with the exposure. The exposure should be made like step by step. I'm not, if I have a client that is like, is afraid to be in between the people, I will not send him in between 500 people. No. The example that I gave you before with my client, that I asked her to speak with a colleague, it is a sort of exposure, you know, it's a very gentle and kind one, but it's sort of exposure in itself. Good. Now, do you have any questions, observation, remarks? You know what they are saying about the trainers, that they don't have questions from the room. They say that even everyone understood everything, or nobody nothing. I prefer the first version. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk about. This is my material, and now I'm ready to answer any question you have. If you have any.
Can I say something?
Yes, Monique.
Okay. No, it's very clear, and I think you are very creative and positive. Yes, that's what you have to be. And it's all about consciousness, huh? It's getting all conscious, getting it up and working with it. So, but it's very clear. I liked it very much. Thank you.
Did you find it useful for your
Yes, also for me to be more focused on it and to see the benefits of it. Yes. So yeah.
Do you have any client currently with which you can use a homework?
Yes, I always gave homework, but then I do check, but not like so so focused. So yes. So I asked for it. Did you do it? Did you how was it? But it's not. It's more like in a talk, but not. But this is more focused. It's more. It gives you also. How say that? I don't know the English word.
Grip.
The handvaten. So.
Grip.
Rip.
Grip.
Grip. Yeah. Sorry. Yes, it gives you grip to do something, to act, and to actively start working with it. Yes, it's really very nice.
Super. Yeah. Thank you, Monique.
Thank you.
Ivar, did I answer to your expectations?
Yeah, totally. And it was happy to hear that I use many of them, but I haven't thought about them on purpose. But what I don't do is that I'm not asking or like checking later. I hope that they are doing. Really rarely I ask, because I hope that they're a grown-up person and they know what they do. But yeah. I'm not like integrating it really well into the process, and I usually give too much homework, like option this and option that and option third, and then it should be more specific. I think this was really valuable, and I really like how you present this ego states as well. I'm talking about those myself as well, but one thing I have been like missing, like or forgot that the perfect is 80% adult and 20% this free child. I am always like focusing at 100% adult.
We are losing the joy.
Exactly, yeah. And this was a good reminder. Thanks for reminding.
Yeah. Rob, what are you taking from this workshop?
Well, I'm very inspired by you. It's always a pleasure to attend your workshops. Actually, I didn't really read very well what to expect, but I knew if you're going to present it, then I'm in, because I know it will be of high quality, and it was. I was not disappointed about that. So I will use it more consciously, I think. I use it, but not as systematically as you do, and I think there is something to gain with it. I have a funny example I would like to share with all of you. I had a client, because I once gave someone a very simple homework exercise, which is funny because she had a fear of failing. It's something we meet all the time in therapy, of course, and to let the stress of those situations go away, I gave as a homework to let something go wrong, but on purposely, and stay with it. And I had to make up an example to do it in a controlled situation. So I asked her what her plans were for the next weekend, and she said, "Oh, tomorrow we're going to just have pancakes with my children." And I made up the homework to make a pancake and let it bake just a little too long. So it was just a little failure, and stay with the feeling that it got just a little, not black, but just a little too black, and stay and feel the feelings you have. And
Small exposure.
And she told me that it was such a great feeling that she was able to experience a failure and realize that it's just a failure. It's not. It's nothing about me. It's about the pancake. And
oh, how sweet is that? Excellent idea. Excellent.
You should have asked her to bring the pancake.
No, I think if she knows how to bake perfect pancakes, she can bring those. Have herself.
Okay. Excellent, Rob. Thank you for the sharing. Absolutely excellent. Thanks. Luis, what do you think it's useful for you to use with the clients?
I think it's wonderful the way you made your point. It's very systematic. I already knew some kind of importance of this therapeutic homework. That's why I registered myself for this. But this really gives very good structure and very good guidelines. And I also want to share an experience I had with one friend, because I don't have clients yet. And he had a very big problem, because he was a victim of psychological terror from his father from 4 years old, he and his sister, and he is 52 years old, and he has anxious disorder. At 20 years old, he said that he thought that was a normal thing to be as he was. Then at 20 years more, something like that, he understood that that was not normal. Other people don't have that. So he was used to that kind of feeling, be anxious, completely anxious, and until 52 years old. And I started to do some job with him to try the knowing, my knowledge of hypnosis. And one thing I did was to, because he went to a space between lives, and he felt very peaceful, completely peaceful, and full of love, and it was a very good thing for him, very good feeling. And then I, of course, I made some suggestions to fill up with the body with that love and that peace, to fill the body, and to make a gesture, an anchor with the fingers. He chose it, and then after the session, the job was the homework was to use that anchor to start to enter a little bit in that state of peace, because what he felt was anxiety in the body. And he thought, he had this belief, a kind of a belief that you were talking about in the point 7 of the last thing you said. He has this belief that he was always in that anxious state. And that homework was good for him to see that it was not always. It had some moments that he could be in peace. And then it was highly motivating for him. And he used that anchor a lot. And in the next months, I did sessions monthly, because it was in Lisbon. I only go there one time a month. And that was a very wonderful tool for him to get out of that anxious
this homework with the anchor is very, very useful.
I had another friend that I made a homework for her, also with some kind of a gesture, because I don't know if it's a good thing to do, but you tell me your experience. I said that she could keep the knowledge she had, and the feeling of love, and the truth of the knowledge she had, and make some kind of visualize an energy or something, and put there inside in her body. Because the problem was that she did some therapeutic work, Reiki, things like that, and then she could not charge the clients, ask the money, and that the session was for that. And then the job was for her to put she put it like a crystal, yellow crystal, in the belly. She chose the place or something like that, and that the job was the homework to put the hand on that place whenever she was about to ask money for the client. She forgot it completely. So she never did it. She then with WhatsApp told me gave me some feedbacks, what a wonderful session, etc., wonderful insights, but never talked about that anchor. So that was
but that wasn't quite what we call an anchor, because that wasn't quite an anchor. My homework for that woman would have been to raise her fees in the next week. That would have been like €1 more. That this week you need to charge €1 plus your normal fee, and this could work really good.
So I will thank you for the. So the one thing I will bring with me is that the strategies to remember, and I don't know, Anna has a wonderful strategy, because everybody remembers to do the homework, but I will have your strategies to do that.
Okay, excellent.
And thank you, Roxandra. It was very good. I enjoyed it a lot.
I'm glad if it helps. Anna, which one Anna wants to start? Anna, Oprah.
Mimi. I like the way the information is organized.
Anna, I really like the praise. But my question is now, what do you feel you can take in your practice?
Well, when I listen and watch the presentation, I think I became more creative, and I have new ideas. Like maybe I will have a, do we say in English, bibliography? What we call it? Yeah. And level 1 and level 2, and maybe the fee will be not so high if they read one book before the first session. They, you see, they will have a, and yeah, and I have
a discount
if they read
for each homework you're doing.
yeah, yeah. I have some ideas, so for them to be more responsible.
Responsible or responsive?
Responsible, yeah. And do you have other example from your practice?
On what?
Maybe on a client, how he did with the homework, a specific homework during the. I like stories.
You like stories. I'm not sure on what story shall I tell you.
Okay.
Do you like other stories? No, I can't remember any story now. I'm out of the Rob. You're on mute, so.
Rewind. What I do quite often is prepare the homework in a future pace.
Oh, yeah.
Are you familiar with future pace, everyone?
Yeah.
So you go into trance in the future and let them do it already then in trance, so they can get used to the feeling before they actually do it in 3D reality.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially if it's about exposure, it's very important to do that before. Yes. Thank you for this. Yeah. Thank you, Rob. Very, very good. Thank you, Anna. The other Anna?
Sure.
In alphabetical order, the Annas.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yes, thank you very much. And I agree with everything everybody said. For me, because I don't have so many clients at the moment, because I'm doing 1,000 other things, but because I am my own client and I do a lot of that stuff, it's very good for me to have that, because I know quite a few of these things that you described, but there is more, which is very interesting. And like, oh, that is very great.
You can give homework for yourself.
For myself, exactly, to actually take me out more from like being constantly in a session mode to actually being outside and doing the homework, because I can fly away and I can be in a session, at any given point in time of the day, or I keep working a lot because I enjoy it also. And I think it's also my coping mechanism. I'm always working on myself. But it's good. Like
that's a good strategy. I can see that in my clients. That's a good strategy to run from life.
Yeah. So it was like, this is actually a good thing I could use it now for myself to be in the reality, to do these things. And a lot of things that are there, I was like, oh, that would be good for me to do. So that's the first step. I do it for myself, and then we transfer.
That's amazing. If you're doing that for yourself, it's like, that's perfect, because in the end, it's important to behave very well with us as our clients. We are the most important client that we have.
Yeah, but I can also transfer a lot of things if ever I have anybody because I like homework also. It's a very creative way of what you said, to let the person continue the process by themselves.
And integrate the process, and also
and so I really like it because I like it myself to do, and so I like to give it to people. But there are many other things that are more concrete, that not only you can do exactly the concrete, but what Anna also said, you can start, because there is a frame, you can start to be creative. with the praying also. So
Definitely.
very good. Thank you
As
so
I
much.
said, if it's possible for the homework to come from the session, it's absolutely perfect. As Rob said, if you're doing a future pacing and you can give a homework on that future pacing or on an affirmation that the spirit guide did or on something about the lesson from the past life, that's absolutely perfect. It's important to just flow with the client.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Anna. And thank you all for being here with me this evening. Looking forward to see you in September to the convention. Anna, thank you so much for your support today.
Of course, my pleasure.
So have a great evening. Have great homework for your clients. Looking forward. Rob said, Rob said good. She didn't give us homework.
We're not supposed to read that.
Oh,
Too late now. You ended
too
it
late
now.
now.
No, she did give a homework. She was like, I will see you all in September.
It was very subtle action homework.
I'm expecting you to do that.
Have a good evening, darlings. Bye.
Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
I have a few questions. The recording can stop. What about Romania?
Okay.
Just to the Romanian audience.